definition. This is the definition that has been adopted since 2009, 2016. Burles was a man who initially wrote about critical appraisal. So it's basically carefully and systematically examining the research in order to see whether it's trustworthy, what its value and relevance is. Then it is used to identify the strengths and weaknesses of a research article. And then what the researcher, what the reviewer, what the reader has to do is positive and negative criticism. And the critical appraisal helps to distinguish between useful and flawed studies. I've attended numerous workshops, and in the workshops, what people sometimes, what happens is that articles are given, circulated, and everyone is told to review them in 10-15 minutes and note down some points. And large number of people, what have seen and observed, they say कि कोई mistake ही नहीं है इसमें तो, and some say it is a very bad article. It is I think it's badly written. I think grammatical. So the exact what is critical appraisal, that is known by very few people. So what we do in critical appraisal, we evaluate every article is based on a study. There are different study designs. So we evaluate the appropriateness of the study design for the research question. Then we assess the key methodological features. We see what analysis. I will discuss all these points one by one. So we see what analysis they have done, what results they have shown, and then we make some conclusion about the validity, the relevance, the scientific evidence of those results. Why do we need to appraise articles? Why do we need critical appraisal? That is the next thing that comes into our minds. There are more than 25,000 biomedical journals, leaving aside journals in other fields. Just biomedical there are so many journals. As all the audience knows, people, every institution, every place has its own journal. So we think about how many, there are so many biomedical journals. So we have to see which journals are what and what are they publishing. So we have to see the weighing up evidence to see how useful, what results are they publishing? Are they useful in decision making? What strengths and weaknesses of the researches are there in these different journals? What are the flaws, the weaknesses, and what processes they are using? So this is all the reason we need to appraise. Secondly, when we do critical appraisal, the researcher, the one who is doing the appraisal, is developing a skill that needs to be practiced by all health professionals as part of their work. Like I said in the beginning, when it comes to review, if it is an article related to gynae, it's sent to the gynecologist. If it's the topic is related to medicine, it's sent to the medical specialist. So all health professionals, it's a skill that should be developed and practiced by all. So it's required before implementing any public health laws, policies, and health programs. Critical appraisal, once we come to the results and we are of the opinion that these results have been appraised, they have been checked, they have been verified, they are valid, then they can be implemented in developing new laws, policies, and health programs. And then what are our results, and are they applicable to the whole population? This also we can judge only after a good appraisal is done. And our research findings need to be evaluated carefully to avoid inappropriate conclusions. Another reason, there are multiple reasons, especially in our country, that like in pharmaceutical companies, it was found studies which were funded by pharmaceutical companies were 4 times as likely to give results that were favorable to the company than independent studies. So this is where critical appraisal comes in. Critical appraisal is that this is tells the reader, the researcher, whoever is doing that, these results don't appear to be right. They are biased, or they have been manipulated. And studies which don't report their methods, sometimes there are certain studies that just to gain importance, and the author wants to be famous, so they overstate the benefits of the treatment by around 25%. They overstate the benefits of treatment. So this is where critical appraisal comes in. The researcher can judge that they are overstating these. Students, it usually comes as a surprise. A saying was that it comes as a surprise to students sometimes to learn that the pursuits would say that 99%, this is a bit too much, I think, but the author is saying in this that would of published articles belong in the bin and should not be used to inform practice. It would probably, this is also another thing to research, that how many articles would go to the bin and how many articles would be published. Even those which are published, when one reads them, you realize that they contain a lot of mistakes and a lot of things that shouldn't be there, and a lot of things that should be there but they are not. So, like I said in the beginning, that this is a misconception that any article published in a scientific journal, good quality, but not taking the names of any journals, but I would say a journal of good quality is one journal that has a good impact factor. It has a good, it is well indexed, and it is well cited. So there are different indices for evaluating the journals. So, but this is no criteria that the article published in that journal, it doesn't have any mistakes, or it can be used as an evidence to practice medicine. Now, these were the reasons. What is critical appraisal? Why critical appraisal is needed? Then how do I appraise? This is the main thing that I would like to tell this forum today, and tell everybody in future also, that there are checklists available for all types of study designs. Whatever articles are followed, there is definitely one of study design is followed in those in that article. So whether it is a cross-sectional, a cohort, a randomized control trial, but the checklists have been developed for all study designs to check whether they have, and it's just a matter of 5 to 10 minutes to review an article, keep the checklist. I'll tell at the end how to market and note the important points about the article. So there are different checklists for different researches that help whether the research is valid and relevant. Now, this is an overview, a diagram which is showing all types of study designs, major types of study designs. Some basic studies that we do, especially at the undergraduate level, are the cross-sectional studies, the case control, the cohort, and the randomized control trials. So these studies are not appraised. They need appraisal, critical appraisal. But there are certain advanced studies designs higher up in the hierarchy, like systematic reviews, evidence-based guidelines, and synopses. These are pre-appraised. They are always appraised with the thesis, the synopsis, the evidence-based guidelines, and the systematic reviews. But here a word of caution, the synopsis and other synthesis of evidence may or may not be appraised. At times, the synopsis and thesis are, and at times are not. So it's not a hard and fast rule. But evidence-based guidelines are definitely pre-appraised, and systematic reviews and meta-analysis are pre-appraised. All basic study designs, like which we are practicing for undergraduates, they are not appraised and need critical appraisal. That is why all journals, whenever we send an article to any journal for publishing, it first sends it to 2 reviewers, those who are
मैडम अगर
related.
आप मैडम साइमा अगर प्रेजेंटेशन को स्लाइड मोड में कर दें,
अच्छा सर,
मैडम को कुछ स्लाइड नीचे वो जो कप लगा हुआ है ना उसके ऊपर कर दें तो स्लाइड जरा बड़ी हो जाएगी।
अच्छा सर, मैं करती हूँ। हाँ
ये बिल्कुल प्रेजेंट के नीचे एक कप पानी की तरह जैसे लगा हुआ है वहां पे
जी
आप
जी
जरा
सर,
करें।
वो मुझे स्लाइड शो का पता है। हाँ। So,
गुड गुड
the
मैडम, थैंक यू।
sir, okay, sir. Acha, so this was from Haynes. So these basic study designs, they need to be appraised, and a few ones are just pre-appraised. Now I'm telling you what we will do in the research articles or published articles or whatever articles we have, whether they are in the soft form about to go for publishing or published, what to see one by one. Every article, the structure of an article, every article has got an introduction, a methodology, results, discussion, funding at the end, author contribution, and multiple small things. But the major things are the introduction, the methods, the results, and the discussion. So we will see these one by one. The first, on any published article or written article, there is a title. We'll talk about the title. The second thing is the abstract, which is at the beginning of the article. We will review the abstract. How? This I'll just tell you in the coming slides. Then comes the introduction, the background, and the review of literature. So we will, after that, one by one, we will review these. The methodology, what methods were used, how they were used, the results, the discussion, and the conclusion and recommendations. And the last but not the least, the references, which are very important. So first, coming to the title. Every article, whether it is a published article, a report, or whatsoever, it has got a title. So what to see in the title? This is the important point to be conveyed. What the reviewer, what the researcher should see in the title. The title should be self-explanatory in 1 to 2 lines. At the recommended length, some say 12 words, but the range is from 10 to 14 words. It should not be too long, not too short. So, and it should be, the language should not be such that everybody can't understand. So, and it should give a hint of the study design. What study design are we following? So, an effective title, we should have these. What should it have? An effective title should be: is it original? It should not be copied. Chat GPT ने आजकल बहुत ज़्यादा, it's, I think, I keep all telling my students all the time कि ये it's putting your brains rustic. Actually, I'm not against, it should not, but what the students now do, I want to do a research on family planning, मुझे title बना के दे, and the chat GPT would at once make 4 to 5 titles. So first of all, the first step should be, as far as Google was limited. You had to use your brain also. But the chat GPT is just making things easier and easier and easier for the people. तो वो टाइटल बना के दे देते हैं, and then that is what the students are copying. So this I check that what is the AI content of the title. And that is that is the only tool I have to see whether it's original or not. Is it informative? What does it tell you? What does it tell you about the study design? Does it tell you about the study location? Does it tell you about the study population? How much informative it is? Is the title engaging, interesting? Believe me, a lot of researches, you just read them if you get involved in the title. It appears to be interesting, and you say, okay, yeah, I'll read this article. This is good. And this is population intervention, control and objectives. These are not all titles follow these, but the study population, whether an intervention is given, especially in trials, and what is the main purpose, that you can do. Now, there are 3 main types of titles. Descriptive titles. Descriptive titles, they describe the subject, what research you are doing on, and but they do not reveal the main conclusions. So this is an example: the effect of family support on patients with dementia. Now this is just, it doesn't tell you what the conclusion may be or might be or what it is. Or family support of post-transplant patients. This also tells just what it describes what you are going to do, but nothing further. So it's a descriptive title. Then declarative title. Declarative title, it states the main findings or the conclusions. This is the difference between the two. It gives an idea. Now, like this is a declarative title. A 3-month weight loss program increases self-esteem in adolescent girls. So this is telling you some conclusion as well. What will happen in the research? What happens in the research? And so it's telling about the inference. So it's a declarative title. The third is the interrogative titles. they introduce the subject in the form of a question. So, does cognitive training improve performance on pattern recognition tasks? So, it has a question mark at the end, like it says interrogative titles. So this is an answer. You are basically searching for an answer to the question in the research. So these are the three types of titles. So what should be the qualities of a good title? The qualities of a good title should be that it should be simple and use of concise statements. Like I said, avoid words that carry little or no meaning, and avoid titles that are too long. The recommended length is no more than 12 words, but 10 to 14 is the range that we normally take. It's difficult to limit yourself to one single number. And do not use acronyms. Acronyms, abbreviations, in which the first letter, we take the first letter and then we make an abbreviation from that. So do not use acronyms. So these are the qualities of a good title. So this is, I hope I've made myself a little clear that when an article comes in front of you, what should you see in the title? What type of title it is, what length it is, what type of statement is it? Is it complicated, simple, and it doesn't carry unnecessary words, no acronyms. Now, the next thing that comes in a published article is the abstract. So when we are talking about the abstract, it provides a concise overview or summary of the research. In a large majority of the cases, when we are even doing a new research and we are looking back what previous work has been done, we don't have time to read the whole articles and we are reading only the abstracts. So abstracts should provide a concise overview or summary of the research, what was done, why the methods were used, the key results, and the recommendations. There are two types of abstracts. What do we see? Whether first of all, our article has an abstract or not. And secondly, whether it is structured or non-structured. Structured is an abstract in which there are headings, like we give background or introduction, methods, results, and discussion. And non-structured abstract is one which has no heading. It is just written as a paragraph. So they're not going into too much detail about this, but usually it's recommended that original articles should have a structured abstract. If there is a review article, fine, non-structured as well. So we see whether the abstract is there or not, whether it is structured or non-structured, and see also whether it's an original article, a review article, a report, or whatsoever and then see what type of abstract it is. And does it provide a concise overview of the research? Does it identify the research problem? Ideally, a good abstract, when the researcher, the reviewer reads it, he or she should know about the research. The main results are also there, the main methods are there, and the main problem has been identified. And does it outline the methods used, main findings, and recommendations? So, and the last of the thing of abstract, but the most important, there are always keywords at the end of the abstract. They should be 3 to 10 mesh words, which are derived from the internet. And length of the abstract varies according to the journal requirements. This is a question I'm answering all day long. कितने words का abstract लिखें, कितने words का article लिखें. So the length of the every journal, some journals would say an abstract of 200 words. Some journals would say an abstract of 250 words. Some would say 300 words. So depending where you want to publish it, you adjust you write down your abstract, keep it with you. Then at the end, when you decide in which journal you are going to publish, then you adjust it accordingly. So this is a structured abstract, like I told you. It is background, methods, and results, and on the other one is an unstructured one. So we have seen the title. Now, after that, we saw the abstract. Now we are coming to the introduction and the rationale. What is the rationale? Rationale is the significance of the study. Why you want to do the study? What impact it will bring to you, to your area, to your career, to your population. So, coming to the introduction usually has two components, background and literature review. So introduction is part of the literature review itself, and it states the main aim of the research. What do we do in the introduction? We search the topic on different whatever availability you have, whether you have Google Scholar, PubMed, Google, whatsoever, whatever you have available. You search the topic, you find studies similar to the topic, and then you write a background after paraphrasing, and then you write a literature review. So what we have to see is that what background has been written. Is it related to the topic exactly, or is it diverging from the topic? And then you see the literature review by examining the other researchers. And then introduction, after we write this, we should be able to identify the need for the new research that is being presented. It should be organized clearly and provide a balance of recent and related literature. What is the checklist for introduction? Is the problem clearly identified? Does it progress from general things about the topic and to specific? Is there a rationale? Rationale is so important and a thing which is commonly ignored by most people. For our faculty, I took a special workshop on rationale just to stress and highlight its importance. And is the literature up to date? This is the checklist for the introduction. And is the literature relevant to the research, like I said? And does the literature identify a need for the research proposed? When we read about the research from the previous literature, then we find out that whether there is a need for this study or not. So many times we have gone advanced and then we cancelled that topic when we read the literature, because so much work had already been done that there was not a need for going into that topic further, even in our area. So that we cancelled it. And are there any gaps in the topics of the literature reviewed? This is what we have to find. What I tell the students usually is that it's a tunnel. Like when you are passing, this gap is like a tunnel. When you pass through the tunnel, you find a way through to take your car. So this is how you are taking your car. You are finding that gap in the literature and you are proposing your study towards that gap. So a rationale, like I said, that what has anyone done a similar study? does this study add to the existing literature in any way? कोई फायदा है इसका, कोई इसको करने का impact होगा? What is the way forward? Why are you doing this study? Don't do a study just for the sake of research. Research for the sake of research is not needed. It should have some impact, some way forward. Is there a need for the study? So after the introduction, then comes the methodology. And at the start, we write the aim and the objectives. Usually there is one aim, and to achieve that aim, there may be one objective or 1 to 2 objectives. So is the aim or objectives clearly defined, and are the objectives in line with the research question? These are two things we have to see to the least about in the research. Now the methodology, how you will do the research. This section should present clearly and concisely the precise way in which the research was carried out and why that method was chosen. What is the checklist for methodology? The first thing is have you chosen a qualitative method or a quantitative method for your research? Is it consistent with a qualitative or quantitative method? Is the study's design suited to fulfill the aims of the study? Is your study design and your aims matching? Will it fulfill it? Are the methods clearly explained and justified? So, are important details provided so that the research could be replicated by someone else? What sample size in the methods? Important thing is to calculate the sample size. In your study, how much sample will be taken? Everything, there is a different whole procedure for that. What sampling technique will you use? And are the details of data collection? What is your data collection tool? Usually it's a questionnaire. These days, the questionnaires are sent on Google Forms, and people are doing even our undergrads are doing data collection on Google Forms. They've made it easier. Next thing in the methodology is what variables have you chosen for your study? Like body mass index, weight, height, age, gender, then related to your topic, malnutrition, then what and class, different things. So what variables have you chosen? The dependent variable is your outcome of the study, and the independent variables are the different ones used to achieve that outcome. Are they clearly defined? Are the statistical methods used in the study specified in sufficient detail? And what analytical tests are used? These things have to be checked in the methodology. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's just taking them. And the last but not the least in the methodology are any ethical considerations described and explained. Ethical, now it has become so much important that no journal whatsoever publishes any article without an approval from ethical review committee or institutional review board. Now, after the methods comes the results. So the results are findings of the study. They should be presented clearly and consistently in line with the stated aim of the research. Then the first question comes, are the results of the study generalizable? This is a question which I have to repeatedly explain to undergraduates, that usually it's difficult to generalize our results, because when we are doing research from 1 to 2 medical colleges or 1 to 2 hospitals, then the results generalization is difficult. So we have to mark this point. Are the results generalizable? Now, what is the checklist for the results? Are they presented clearly, consistently? Graphs are the graphs or tables presented clearly and coherently? Are any gaps in the data gathering accounted for? And do the results relate to the study questions and the purpose of the study? What statistical tests were applied? Are all the relevant outcomes reported? And are what values were reported? Mean was reported on a mean, standard deviation, proportions, then in advanced analysis, regression analysis, all these we have to see what values were reported and how valid are the results. Another very, very important thing in the result is whether they are statistically significant or not. We calculate the p-value, the probability value that any result is significant or not, and if it's less than 0.05, all those results are significant. So this is what we have to mention in the results, the p-value and whether it is significant or not. P-value and the confidence intervals. So this was about the results. Then comes the discussion. Discussion actually people have wrong concepts about discussion. When they see a title, they think that we have to describe in detail about the title, about the topic we have chosen. No. That we have done in the literature review, that we have done in our background. In the discussion, we will compare our findings from the results with findings from similar studies. Like we will find the similarities and the differences. If our study has shown that secondary school children have more malnutrition in Ahmedabad, we will see what other studies have been done on secondary school children and what have they shown. Whether if they have shown similar that there is increased malnutrition, we will say this is similar to the study conducted by Ahmed and in which the secondary school children had malnutrition. And this, if it is contrast, we will say this is in contrast to the findings of Samia, who said that they don't have primary have more malnutrition. So the discussion, it provides basically a detailed interpretation of our findings. The researcher should compare the results with the previous researches, report similarities and difference. Do the findings relate to what has been done before? Another thing, after doing this, we evaluate the strengths of our study and the weaknesses of our findings. What are the strong points about this our research and what are the weaknesses of our research? Have they been acknowledged, and what suggestions for the future that will come in the recommendations as well? So the gaps or weaknesses in the research should be summarized. Conclusion is at the end, and it is also written at the beginning in the abstract. So it should sum up what was most useful and interesting about the research. I always say a thing to the students that don't think that you will get very high results and don't aim too high. Just do your research and see what you get. At times they just come crying that nothing positive came in our research. We did so much hard work, इतनी मेहनत की, कोई भी p value significant नहीं आई, कोई result significant नहीं आया. So I always tell them this is not what is important. Important is you learned how to do it, you know the process, and this is not in our hands. Okay, what positive findings are not in our hand, negative findings are not in our hand. This is what is research. So the conclusion should sum up the most important things, like the checklist. Do the interpretations follow logically from the results? Are the conclusions supported by the result? They should be supported by the results. And are the implications of the studies some people say should not be included in the conclusion. Conclusion should just sum up the study, and implications should go in the way forward or recommendations. So the recommendations, they outline the areas of possible future research. Do they recommend the ways in which the current research could be improved? Do the recommendations stem from the research undertaken? The references I have in my topic was such that there weren't much references, but whatever were, I have noted down on the slides with the at the bottom of the slide where it was quoted. But many people prefer that we should make a slide at the end of the references. That is also not incorrect. How recent were the references? Scientific research means the references should be as recent as possible, preferably last 5 years, unless there are sentinel sources. Sentinel sources means that there are some facts like primary healthcare was initially highlighted in Alma-Ata Declaration 1978. So we have to quote it. If we are doing some research related to primary healthcare, we have to quote that 1978 Alma-Ata Declaration. So except for sentinel sources, we should prefer and to use last 5 years references. And have they been cited relevant to the studies? And certain journals, they say that they should be 20 references, but this is not, the number has no significance. So summarizing what I said today, we should find a difference between robust results and non-robust. Robust were strong results which have made our study strong, which have made our study robust, and non-robust results. We should highlight the results which have robust, and we should think about what recommendations we can give those. And be persistent enough to observe objectively and thoroughly, and to collect sufficient factual or textual evidence, and see patterns of relationship in which they have been observed or discovered in their reading. So we are reviewing an article. We are coming to infer, to assume carefully, to form opinions, keeping an open mind, using checklists to apprise research. I would advise everybody to use checklists depending on the study design. It makes the work easier and you don't miss out any point. This is an example I have given for cross-sectional studies. This is how we do it, that we take these guidelines. So strobe guidelines are for these basic studies, case control, cross-sectional, and this cohort. So like the process which I have mentioned, I'm not going to go through all of it again, but like the title, what important points are, does it indicate the study design with a commonly used term? Whether is it a positive critique or is it a negative critique? If it doesn't give it, we can just note it down as a negative critique. Or if it gives it, we can note it down as a positive critique. Critique doesn't mean to criticize only. It may be a positive critique or a negative. Similarly, we will say about the abstract, the introduction, the background, the rationale, the objectives, methodology, study setting, participants, variables, data sources, measurements, biases, systematic error in the research, statistical methods, results, and we are noting down the positive and the negative critique. Other analysis, discussion, limitations, interpretation, and funding. Funding at the end. what source of funding, even if it is no funding, just mention it in negative critique that no funding was used. So this was all about from my side. And these guidelines, they are available for all study designs on the internet. And my message, take home message would be that whoever is reviewing an article, just keep this keep this checklist in front and review the article. It is easy for you and it is much more beneficial for the author. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Saima. Really, it was a very nice presentation. آپ یقین مانے میں آپ کی ساری پریزنٹیشن لکھتا رہا. ویری بیوٹیفل ڈسکشن، ویری بیوٹیفل ٹاپکس، اور اس طرح کی ضرورت ہوتی رہتی ہے. نو ڈاؤٹ وی آر ویری لمیٹڈ پرسن پیپل ہیئر، لیکن وہ سارے ٹیچر جو بیٹھے ہیں جنہوں نے اس کو ریویژن کرایا، اور یقیناً آپ ایک خوبصورت بات کی تھی کہ آپ ہر چیز پہلے خود سوچیں، خود لکھیں، اور پھر جا کے آپ چیٹ جی پی ٹی یا اے آئی سے ٹھیک کریں. ہر چیز وہاں سے لیں گے تو آپ کی جو ایک اسکالری سوچ ہے وہ ختم ہو جائے گی. تو بیوٹیفل لیکچر اور بیوٹیفل ڈسکرپشن، اور ماشاء اللہ پروفیسر سلمیٰ آپ نے بہت ہی اچھا ٹیچر ہمیں اس کو پڑھانے کے لیے دیا. اور ویری سملر ٹاپک وہی انٹرسٹڈ ہم جو جا رہے ہیں وہ بھی اسی طرح کے ٹاپک ہیں، ریویو آف لٹریچر اس کے اوپر. تو نا اوپن فار دا ڈسکشن. کیسر سجاد صاحب. پروفیسر راشد صاحب.
جی
جی سر.
تھینک یو.
تھینک یو سر. میں نے صرف ڈسکشن بھی نہیں کرنی اور کوشچن بھی نہیں کرنا، اتنا اچھا انہوں نے پریزنٹ کیا، اتنی چیز. ہم تو پرانے پروفیسر ہیں، وہ 2003 میں فیل کی ہوئے، ساری چیزیں انہوں نے ریفریش کرا دی، بہت اچھی طریقے سے ڈسکرائب
بہت
کیا.
اچھا، بالکل
تو میں
تمام
آئی جسٹ
ریویژن ہو
وانٹڈ
گئی.
ٹو اپریشیٹ کہ میں ان کو اپریشیٹ کروں. میں نے ریمارکس میں تو لکھ
آئی
دیا
ریئلی
لیکن میں چاہا
اپریشیٹ،
تھا
آئی ریئلی
تو
اپریشیٹ.
بہت اچھا تھا. ویری ابزارونگ کمیونیکیشن اسٹائل ماشاء اللہ، تاکہ وہ توجہ نہیں ہٹنے دی انہوں نے. تھینک یو، کنگریچولیشن ڈاکٹر صاحب.
Thank you,
راشد
sir.
صاحب دیکھیے، میں
Thank
نے
you,
یہ
sir.
پورا لکھا ہے ان کا ڈیٹ، یہ
ہاں
لکھا
لکھا.
ہے. یہ
تو
دیکھیں، یہ
آپ سر
دیکھیں.
آپ مجھ سے بھی ایک نمبر تیز ہیں ماشاء اللہ. تو میں تھوڑا آپ کو بتایا تھا طبیعت
یہ
ٹھیک نہیں ہے،
لکھا ہے.
لکھ رہا
آئی
ہوں.
تھنک ویری مائنر سجیشن. یہ آپ
ہاں
نے
جی.
بہت
تو
اچھا پورا لیکچر لکھا کہ اس میں
بڑا
بیوٹیفل.
سسٹمیٹک طریقے سے بتایا، بہت سسٹمیٹک بتایا.
ویلکم.
جی ملازم صاحب، میں سمجھتا ہوں کہ ڈاکٹر سائمہ نے بڑا اچھا تعلیم بالغان کرا دیا ہماری، اور
تعلیم بالغان کرا دی.
زبردست ہو گیا. اور ساری چیزیں جیسے راشد صاحب نے بتایا، ریویو ہماری ساری چیزیں ریویو ہو گئی، اور کچھ نئی چیزیں بھی پتہ چل گئی ہیں. تو تھینک یو ویری مچ ڈاکٹر سائمہ، ویل ڈن، گڈ جاب.
Thank you, sir.
جی ڈاکٹر عائشہ کچھ بتانا چاہیں گی آپ؟ ڈاکٹر زرنین.
جی جی سر، میرا آج یہ پہلا پی ایم اے کا جو تھا لیکچر تھا، کافی کچھ لرننگ کے لیے ملا، اور میم سائمہ سے ویسے بھی بہت سیکھنے کو ملتا ہے. تو ریسرچ کا یہ ہے، جیسے آپ سب نے بتایا کہ دوبارہ سے ریفریش ہو گیا، ایک ذہن میں ایک سسٹمیٹک آرڈر آ گیا کہ کس چیز کو کیسے کیسے چیک لسٹ کرنا ہے. اینڈ آئی آلسو ایگری کہ اے آئی پہ بہت زیادہ ڈیپینڈنٹ نہیں ہونا چاہیے، کیونکہ آپ کی سوچنے سمجھنے کی صلاحیت ہی ختم ہو جاتی ہے.
یہ بالکل وہ والی بات ہے. میں ایک مثال بتا دوں، شاید آپ سب اس سے گزرے ہوں گے. جب ہمارے پاس موبائل سسٹم نہیں تھا تو یہ پی ٹی سی ایل والوں کا یہ ایک ڈبہ رکھا ہوتا تھا، اور وہ گھنٹی بجتی تھی، آپ کہیں اوپر ہوتے تھے نیچے کچن میں، وہاں سے بھاگ کے جا کے وہ اٹھاتے تھے. تو وہ جو زمانہ ایسا تھا کہ کوئی بھی پوچھتا تھا کہ یار اس کا نمبر بتاؤ، تو ہم 2 منٹ میں اس کا نمبر بتاتے تھے. یار فلاں کا نمبر
نمبر
بتاؤ،
یاد ہو جاتا.
ہم ایسا فلاں بتاتے تھے، اس لیے کہ ہم اس کو خود یاد کرتے تھے، ہمیں پتا ہوتا تھا، ہم ملاتے تھے. اب پتا چلا کہ یار وہ بتاؤ کہ تمہاری بیگم کا کیا نمبر ہے. یار وہ تو مجھے پتا یاد نہیں، میں دیکھتا ہوں موبائل سے. یار وہ گھر کا کیا نمبر ہے، اچھا میں دیکھتا ہوں. تو ہم سارے کے سارے ڈیپینڈ کر گئے ہیں موبائل کے اوپر. وہ موبائل میں ہم فیڈ کر لیتے ہیں اور پھر اپنے برین کو ایکٹیویٹ نہیں کرتے، اس لیے ہمیں یاد نہیں رہتی. تو سیم ہیئر، جیسے ڈاکٹر سائمہ نے کہا کہ جیسے آپ کہہ رہے کہ ہم لوگ جو ہے AI پہ نہیں, پہلے خود کر لیں تو شاید کچھ بہت تھوڑا بہت ریٹین ہو جائے گا, اور وہ اس سے گائیڈ لائن لے لے کہ جی what the AI is suggested you کہ کس طرح کر رہے ہیں.
یہ کیسر صاحب نے جو بات کی بہت زبردست, میں اپنے ساتھ ہی ہو رہا ہے. میں کچھ عرصہ AI بہت یوز کیا. اب یقین کریں ایک سادہ ای میل جو ہے نا وہ بھی اب میں نہیں کر سکتا. وہ میں بس اس کو دے دیتا ہوں کہ یار مجھے ای میل ڈرافٹ کر دو, کوئی ای میل آتا ہے میں اس کو دے دیتا ہوں اس کا جواب بنا دو. تو ہماری اپنی جو کریٹو چیز اور تھنکنگ اور یہ ساری چیزیں, اور اللہ کا شکر ہے میں ایک اچھا ڈرافٹ میں سمجھ جاتا تھا. جس کو بڑی امپورٹنٹ اپلیکیشن لکھنی ہوتی تھی نا وی سی کو یا چیف منسٹر کو, مجھے کہتے تھے راشد آپ میں ڈرافٹ کر دو. اب میں 2 الفاظ بھی ڈرافٹ نہیں کر سکتا. تو سر آپ کی بات بالکل ٹھیک ہے, موبائل پہ AI پہ ہم نے بہت زیادہ ڈیپینڈنٹ ہو گئے ہیں اور ہمارا برین شاید شرنک ہو رہا ہے.
بالکل ایسے ہی ہے. نہیں بس وہ ایسا نہ ہو کہ کبھی کہا جائے کہ یار مجھے 2 دن کی چھٹی چاہیے اور آپ پھنس جائیں لکھنے کے لیے. جو اتھارٹی کہے کہ سر ابھی لکھ کے دیں آپ, ابھی میں آپ کو دیتا ہوں, اور آپ پتہ چلا ابھی آپ لکھ نہیں پا رہے.
لیکن بھائی بالکل سر, بالکل ہم اس طرف جا رہے ہیں, بالکل اس طرف جا رہے ہیں. یہ بات صحیح ہے.
Thank you everyone. Professor Salma Kundi, over to you to conclude today's session. Professor Salma Kundi.
نہیں وہ میرے خیال میں جا چکی ہیں.
نہیں ہے میڈم ہے.
نہیں جا نہیں سکتی بھائی, نہیں جا نہیں سکتی.
نہیں گئی تھی ڈسکنیکٹ بھی, دوبارہ جوائن کر لیا.
نہیں کبھی بیٹھے بیٹھے سو جاتی ہیں وہ کبھی کبھار.
پروفیسر کیسر کنکلوڈ ٹوڈے سیشن.
میڈم کو دیکھیں ہے کہ نہیں ہے ڈاکٹر سلما.
میڈم سو گئی ہیں.
اچھا اوکے جی. اگین تھینک یو ویری مچ ڈاکٹر سائمہ, آپ نے یو ہیو پریزنٹڈ ایکسلنٹ پریزنٹیشن آن ٹاپک جو کہ اس وقت نیڈ ہے ہماری, اور سب کی نیڈ ہے, چاہے وہ جونیئر سینئر جو بھی ہے, جو تھوڑا بہت وہ ریسرچ ورک پہ یا رائٹنگ پہ کوشش کرتا ہے. تو اس کے لیے بہت اچھا آج کا لیکچر ہوا آپ کا. آئی کنگریچولیٹ یو. اینڈ سیکنڈلی ڈاکٹر ملازم صاحب, تو اگر یہ ادھر ادھر ہو گئے تو ہمارے بنے گا کیا. میں تو یہ سوچتا ہوں کہ جس طرح یہ آرگنائز کرتے ہیں ماشاء اللہ سے کنڈکٹ کرتے ہیں, اینڈ آئی مسٹ اپریشیٹ ہم آلسو. ڈاکٹر سلما کنڈی جو پودا لگا تھا, یہ دونوں ایسے چلا رہے ہیں کہ بس کوئی پرابلم ہی نہیں ہے, مسئلہ ہی کوئی نہیں ہے. اور ماشاء اللہ سے یہ ویبینار جو ہے PMA کا یہ چلتا جا رہا ہے, چاہے کوئی اٹینڈ کرے نہ کرے. ان کی یہ پالیسی ہے کہ بھائی چاہے 2 لوگ آ جائیں تو,
سر
لیکن
علم پھیلانے کے لیے آپ ایک بندے کو سمجھا دیں سر, کافی ہے.
بالکل اس فارمولے پہ آپ عمل کر رہے ہیں. آئی ریئلی اپریشیٹ. اینڈ دوز all the participants who attended, who spared valuable Sunday time, I really thanks all of them کہ آپ لوگوں نے اس کو اٹینڈ کیا. I hope کہ نیکسٹ جو ہمارا ہوگا وہ ملازم صاحب بتائیں گے, اور اس کو بھی انشاءاللہ سارے لوگ اٹینڈ کریں گے. ایک میری ریکویسٹ ہے کہ جتنے لوگ پارٹیسپیٹ کر رہے ہیں, میں ان سے ریکویسٹ کروں گا کہ یہ بات آپ لوگوں کو بتائیں کہ جی میں نے PMA کا یہ ویبینار اٹینڈ کیا تھا اور ویری انفارمیٹیو ہوتا ہے. تو اس طرح سے لوگوں کو پتہ چلے, وہ لوگ آئیں, ان کو بتائیں, ان کو بھی جو ڈاکٹر سلما کنڈی اور ملازم صاحب جو ہر ہفتے یہ بھیجتے ہیں ان کا انویٹیشن, وہ بھی آگے بڑھائے. میں بہت جگہ آگے بڑھاتا رہتا ہوں. تو اگر میں 20-25 لوگوں کو دیتا ہوں, اس میں سے اگر ایک بھی آ جاتا ہے تو بہت اچھا ہے, اگر ایک نہیں آتا ہے اگلی دفعہ آ جائے گا تو بھی بہت بہتر ہے. تو دس از مائی ریکویسٹ. تھینک یو ویری مچ.
تھینک یو سو مچ سر. تھینک یو سو مچ سر. انشاءاللہ سی یو نیکسٹ ویک. جی سائمہ کچھ کہہ رہے تھے.
میں معافی چاہتی ہوں, میری آج نیٹ آ رہی ہے جا رہی ہے, یہاں بارش شروع ہے, میں نے بہت زیادہ 80% تو مس کر دیا. خیر وہ میں ریکارڈنگ میں سن لوں گی. سائمہ آئی اپولوجائز فار دیٹ.
کوئی مسئلہ نہیں.
جی میڈم وہ آپ آخری کنکلوڈنگ ورڈ دے دیں ڈاکٹر سلما.
اوکے جی, تھینک یو سو مچ ملازم صاحب. تھینک یو سائمہ, اتنا پیارا آپ نے لیکچر دیا. جتنا میں نے سنا اس نے تو مجھے بہت مستفید کیا ہے انشاءاللہ, اور میں نے کچھ رائٹ اپ کرنا ہے, اس کے لیے میں آپ کو ذرا تکلیف دوں گی. آپ میرا چیک کیجئے گا.
بالکل
گریٹفل ٹو آل دی اٹینڈیز. آج کم ہے کیونکہ اگر میرے نیٹ میں ایشو ہے تو آئی ایم شیور سب لوگوں کے نیٹ ہی میں ایشو ہے, ایٹ لیسٹ ہزارہ سائٹ پہ. تو خیر اینی وے یہ ریکارڈنگ ہوتی ہے جو اپلوڈ ہوتی رہتی ہے اور لوگ اس کو سنتے رہتے ہیں. سائمہ, اٹس دیر آن ریکارڈ ناؤ. Thank you so much for giving us your Sunday, and I thank all the participants, ji.
Thank
اللہ
you.
آپ کو خوش رکھے. Have a very nice weekend. پاکستان زندہ باد.
Thank you, ma'am.
زندہ باد.
زندہ باد جی.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so much, madam. Inshallah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.